Mike Berlucci is the cinematographer on Apple's series Mythic Quest. I'm at Noble Gold Derby to ask you, Mike, what is the wildest thing you've gotten to shoot on Mythic Quest?
Oh, the wildest thing. I mean, it might have been Rob McElhenney drinking milk shirtless as it's pouring out his chest. And the whole Poppy dream sequence in what is it, episode 1 or 2, I forget.
Yeah, I think it's the premiere. I think it's the
premiere. Yeah. That was a lot of fun and pretty wild times on set in terms of standing in during COVID times, and you've got these like dummy heads, like mannequins, and trying to make that work. Yeah.
Wow.
New way to shoot scenes.
Yeah. I thought for a second you were just gonna say like the wildest thing you had to shoot is just Rob McElhenney. You're just gonna stop
yeah. Yes, absolutely.
How do you approach the cinematography on a series like this, which sort of combines sort of like workplace sitcom with sort of this fantasy video game sort of world and storytelling?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's for me, and this is something we talked about very early on, is not really setting any kind of hard and fast rules for the look of the show. I mean, you want it to be cohesive and you want it to be something that the audience feels familiar with and comfortable with. And but the fact that we have all of these different worlds that we kind of dip into throughout the season, it opens up, it gives me a lot of freedom and the entire team a lot of freedom just to have fun. And the approach of the cinematography of this show is just not letting, there's no hard and fast rules when we go into this. It's kind of taking it scene by scene and what's going to be the most interesting approach for this particular scene. Is this going to be this entire episode is all handheld and, kind of very, sunny in a way. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Or is this just a very dramatic kind of emotional scene? And it's so fun as a cinematographer because every script is different. Every scene is different. And it just gives a lot of creative freedom to myself and the whole team. So, yeah.
Is it in, what was I going to say, like without these rules to follow and this freedom to take sort of each script as its own thing, is there anything that you sort of try to keep consistent or like in terms of the look of the show, or do you just go with the flow with whatever you need in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is always going to be this familiarity and consistency with it just by the nature of myself being the sole DP. Our camera operators are staying the same. Our, the grip team, the lighting team, and all of us it's the same people making this. And I feel like there's naturally going to be a cohesiveness with that. The same lenses and cameras. And so I think that's where the familiarity comes from. And but how do you orientation of a kind of a fun, bright, wide angle lens, quirky kind of comedy scene? And with all the same craftspeople working on it, I feel like it does remain familiar and consistent. So yeah.
What was the most challenging shot you've had to film on the show?
The most challenging shot. I don't know if it's one challenging shot, but the most challenging kind of environment or scene, bullpen into this magical enchanted forest. And that was probably the most challenging kind of thing we set out to do. It was meant to take place in a real forest out overnight and be this real like fight fantasy, just sequence, and we ended up doing it in our stage with 15-foot high ceilings, and that was, which in turn made every shot challenging for that scene. But yeah, I would say that's it, definitely.
Yeah, they're from that Evermore episode special that you did. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
What do you think the most sort of, like, it might have been the most challenging, but what do you, like, was there something that you felt like was the most important moment sort of you captured in the series, like for you as a cinematographer?
The most important moment in the series. In a way, I feel like it was probably the quarantine episode. That was a very important episode for all of us as a crew and cast, and also it was just something that I feel, I mean, obviously very timely with what was happening, and it expressed so many different emotions and feelings that, you know, the whole world was feeling together. And for us, we had just got shut down, and we came back, and this was our opportunity to kind of just come together again as a crew and make this thing. And it was very important for all of us, and very important. We all needed it at that moment. So I would say that was probably it. Yeah.
And what Rob did that was, I thought, really cool, Rob and the team, Megan and stuff, did was really cool, was they included all elements of production in that episode. They didn't just send around a script and say, "Oh, just record this on Zoom." Like, you know, they actually thought art department and visual effects and all that sort of stuff. What is sort of your role in that episode of cinematographer, where you do have a lot of like still camera shots and things?
Yeah, so my role was really kind of figuring out with our post team, how do we do this? How do we, logistically, how do we figure this out? And we knew we wanted to be on iPhones. And how do you make something quality on a phone when there's not somebody there to actually set it up and to light it and to do all of this? So it was my conversations with all of our cast members, and you know, lots of text message chains like, okay, send me an image of your frame, what do you have here? And getting it all set up and talking through all the settings. And there's a lot of talking, to be honest. A lot of repeating myself. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and with a series on Apple Plus, Apple TV, it's good that you guys went with the iPhone to film the series.
Yes.
To film the episode. You're like, one of these other phone brands films a lot better than Apple.
Yeah, exactly. Fortunately, they don't.
No, they don't. Okay. What about? You would have been in a bind if one of the other ones you did think would be better.
Yeah, right.
What coming back for season 2 of the show? Obviously, you've talked about like COVID has presented itself some particular challenges. How did you feel coming back for season 2?
Coming back, I was beyond excited. It was just emotionally, I felt ready to be back into the world. I really trusted everything that we had kind of set in place, and I knew that Rob and the team and everybody, they would take care of us and make sure everyone was safe. And it was I felt very, very good coming back, and it was just so nice to see people again in person. And yeah. And the scripts were amazing, so that was a huge help. And there was a lot to look forward to in that season.
Yeah. And I guess, like, were there, like, outside of the COVID changes, did you find any other, like, sort of challenges with coming back in season 2 and, like, sort of?
There were some of the other challenges were the scale of everything. it just got bigger. The scripts got more ambitious, and our schedule, stayed tight. It was still very fast, and yeah, so that was definitely one of the big challenges, is kind of just fitting more into this time that was allotted, and we knew that we wanted it to be just have a much larger feel overall, and
yeah.
So that was challenging to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have like sort of as a sort of viewer of the series, or no, it could be from having filmed it as well, but like a moment that you just always that you found particularly funny when you were shooting, or just when you've watched it as an audience member?
The one thing that always gets me laughing out loud is when Poppy is trying to explain what sex is. Does this thing with her hand. She clearly has no idea, and it just always gets me.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's
yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Do you as a cinematographer, was there a particular like film or television series that sort of influenced you growing up, or that sort of inspired you to get into cinematography?
Yeah, E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Mm.
Yeah, all Spielberg, and that's kind of what sparked it. Yeah, it was yeah, that's when I decided it was time. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Was it like, do you have a favorite sort of shot in that film? Is it the riding the bike in front of the moon, or something else?
Well, it's that. It's also I think the first time I really noticed light and how powerful that was, is, all of the trucks coming up over the edge of the hill, and you see all the, their headlights blasting through the forest as their little creature running around. And it was that kind of sparked the interest in it. Yeah.
How have you used the power of light in Mythic Quest?
The power of light in Mythic Quest, I think I think it's Everlight. That episode, the light is what transformed that bullpen into, or from a standard office into a, and it was just down. And Paul Wilt, our production designer, found these amazing backings that were, we printed up these forest backings, and they reacted in a very special way to ultraviolet light. So we, used all of these different mixed sources. We used ultraviolet light to create all of this depth in the deep background, and then kind of let the midground fall off into darkness, and then, lighting our characters with this strong moonlight. And that's, couldn't have done that without light. Yeah. It's, you could dress it up and make it, into a enchanted forest, which they did, and they did an amazing job at, but the light just added that extra layer on top of it. So,
yeah. Oh, it's cool. Like, I think Evermore is definitely, however it ranks, like in terms of ranking the episodes, it's definitely the most sort of technically impressive episode that I think like has been done of the series, on a whole number of sort of technical components, from cinematography to visual effects and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think is, why do you think audiences, for audiences who like Mythic Quest, what do you think they respond to? What do you think the sort of, I don't know, secret sauce is to Mythic Quest sort of success?
I think it's the writing, and just our characters. I mean, this cast is phenomenal, and they have a lot of great material to work with. So I think it's very easy to kind of just get into this show and to turn it on and not be able to turn it off. I think that's the secret sauce, definitely.
Well, Mike, Thanks so much for talking to us today. People watching this interview can go to goldderby.com where they can make their own awards predictions, join our forums for discussion about film and TV, and watch other interviews with award contenders. Mike, all the best of luck with Mythic Quest Season 2, as well as the upcoming Emmy Awards for the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. Great
No
talking to you.
worries.